Hey guys, a video here just to kind of do a mail call along with a celebration that I found some of the razors I had been looking for. I had to move recently into this new place, this new room, and I lost two boxes. And when I did my big razor den tour a month ago, I can't remember when, unfortunately those had some crucial pieces in my vintage Gillette collection, and so I had to leave those out. Unfortunately, I'm gonna include those, just show those to you today, not in a detailed way, but just for fun, because we're shaving, right? You and I are here. I'm doing a video about shaving on the internet, and you're watching a video about shaving on the internet, and I'm not even going to be shaving. I'm just showing you gear. So let's start with the new to me stuff that has been purchased used, and then even some stuff that has been generously provided by some viewers like you guys, just to have me use it online or just enjoy it. You know, as far as I know, there's no strings attached, and that's how I take those kind of things. So let's start with a purchase that I made. This guy right here. This is a Schick Repeater Injector razor. I believe it might be type B. I did an online search, and I need to do something a little bit more to look at the different types that are out there. And so we'll definitely I'll do some videos on it specifically. I'll of course shave with it, and I'll probably do a separate video on how to change the blades, and of course we'll go into more detail of it there. But I mean, how cool! It's like a transformer. We'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. The little head tweaks out, and then you can shave with it. Exposure looks pretty high on that. Along with that, there were two other razors. Now, this is a Brazilian Super-speed. I may actually have one of these. I'm not sure. I'll have to look, but it's pretty neat, right? And then this is an English Rocket. I believe I may have one of these too. But I thought these are wonderful razors, and what can happen is if I do have either or both of these, then I can see which one's nicer and then sell the one that's not. You know, I love the used market. I wouldn't have nearly as much gear as I do if we didn't have this used shave market available to us these days. So those are neat pieces, and I had to buy those two to get the repeater injector razor there, and so I didn't mind doing that at all. Now, also something that came in was, man, I have been trying to chase down a Pereira, if I'm pronouncing that right, lather bowl. This is that kind of resin, plastic, composite type bowl. Very strong. They like to run over it with cars and things like that. And sure, that's overkill for a shaving bowl. Any plastic that you can make a shaving bowl out of is just going to be just fine as long as you drop it in your sink and it doesn't break, right? That's all we need. And so I'm going to be looking forward to trying this guy out. I have been really curious about its size in relation to my lather bowl that I've been using for so long, my 3D printed lather bowl from Roger Quintero. How does this stack up? Well, first of all, the big factor for me is the diameter. They're even down here, and you can see that my preferred lather bowl is a good half an inch, maybe 5/8 bigger in interior diameter. The depth is pretty identical, but the width, I might be wishing for a little bit more, especially if I was using a big brush that like this High Mountain White with kind of a long loft. I mean, as you can see, if I splay, it really covers a lot of that space in there. Now, the floor of this bowl is surprisingly about the same size, the interior-wise, as the floor of my other lather bowl, but the other one flares out just a little bit more on each side. So we'll see if I miss that room. I'll bet on some of my smaller brushes, I will be just fine. But I don't expect to be using the brush rest too much, because there are definitely some brushes that when you get that full of lather right there, it just kind of tips it back into the bowl. However, you got these bumps to where even if you need to have the brush rest on the side, those bumps keep it from slinking down into the lather. So I'm looking forward. I've been trying to get one of these for a while, and once I realized that it probably comes very close to being my proper dimensions for my preferences, and also I just like to bring. I'm a big bowl lathering fan, and so if it's a serious contender for a good lather bowl, I'd like to bring it to you guys and show you. And so my friend Keith got had one of these to sell, and was very generous and sent it to me. And he even sent me a sample of Ethos soap, lavender, and I have not tried that brand yet, so I'm looking forward to trying that too. Speaking of awesome, kind people on the internet, I have never tried anything from Floris, and I had a guy. I don't exactly know which name he wants to go by, and to protect his privacy, I'm going to omit that. I'll try to figure that out before I use it, and to thank him properly, online. But he sent me some Floris, and this is not cheap stuff. And he sent me a bottle of Elite aftershave, and then along with it, I believe this is number 89, and I believe, if I'm reading everything correctly, this is the 89 soap. And so, and that's really awesome, because of these two scents, I'm pretty sure 89 is the one I would love to have the soap in. And so he picked with either good luck or an educated guess based on my videos out there. Kind of a woody citrus is what I see online, and then from me smelling the puck of soap and popping the cap and just taking a smell of it, I'm really enjoying what I'm smelling, even with my kind of 60% ability COVID nose right now. But I'm looking forward definitely to trying this product for the first time. And I tell you what, this the green here, the Elite, man, that smelled just like an old, maybe an old Menon Electroshave or Barbasol, some kind of vintage green, pretty typical classic American scent. I'll bet that classic American scent was patterned after a classic British scent from a long time ago, right? And so this may be actually coming from the root of where our American version came from. And it was I've still got it on me. I can still smell it. It was a little obnoxious for the first little bit, but you know why? That's because when I poured it out, it was the hole that it comes out of is really generous. You've got to be careful with this stuff. And I had a handful of it. I just plopped it on, and so it was very heavy for just maybe an hour. And then it calmed down. It's calmed down to something really nice and enjoyable. So I'll be judicious. I mean, with both of these bottles, I'll be careful in the future about shaking out a better amount so that I conserve it as well. And it did have some good feel. It wasn't just an alcohol splash. It did have some good kind of nourishing stuff in it as well. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. Now, he was also so generous, and I don't know if he knows too much about me, but he picked another something that I had never actually tried. I didn't even know this brand existed. I'd heard of Floris because I've been browsing the internet threads and forums and things like that. Well, and Floris has been around long enough to where you're just going to hear about it at least. But this, Master Soap Creations, and South African in origin, and looks like, oh, okay, it was purchased at Pasteur Pharmacy up in New York City, and Most Wanted appears to be the scent. And at first sniff, my COVID nose, impaired though it is, I'm smelling a little bit of spices, but then also kind of a fruit, kind of a red fruit kind of thing. But, oh yeah. Now, see, the first time I smelled it, all I got was that kind of sweet fruit, but now I'm getting the spices. That's very interesting. Of course, who knows what else will develop as we lather it up later on. So we'll give that brand a try, Master Soap Creations. Never heard of them? Be fun to try, huh? The scent sounds really good. To my nose right now, it's smelling good. And so those are the three kind of things that I purchased recently. And and so I'm looking forward to bringing that to you guys. Now, if you're only here to listen and watch for the new stuff, we're done with that portion of the show. Now I'll show you some of the missing pieces and the awesomeness, and I'm so happy that I found some vintage pieces that I and a couple of non-vintage that I had to leave out of the Razor Den tour. Because this Injector repeater came in, and also because of some good experiences I have had with Injector razors, I am going to be bringing, in addition to the repeater, I'm going to be bringing my injectors to the channel at some point in the future. And I'll have to do some research and figure out, they have different types. Here's a type L and here's a type J, and some of them have numbers, and I'll have to figure out what all those are. This is an adjustable Schick, and this is a non-adjustable Schick. This is my first razor that I ever purchased at a local antique shop. I got a good deal on it. I was very happy with that one. This is the first injector I ever used, and this is an Ever-Ready, I think. Ever-Sharp Schick. Okay. Now all these three you have to use the injector key on. If you don't know anything about injectors, you put in a key into the side, and that spreads open the jaws to let you slide in another blade from the magazine here. Now the Injector repeater does that all for you. In the handle is like a magazine to a gun. You just pull this back and forth and the blades just kind of roll out. Pretty neat. So we'll look at the injectors and play around with them. And then guess what, my friend? The only thing is that's coming to mind is his Reddit handle, but Michael Friedberg on YouTube, he is sending me a supply injector razor, and so I'm really happy to be bringing that into the comparison with these. And man, I tell you what, if you ever find that these do the job for you, and I could see enjoying these for the rest of my life. This one didn't dazzle me as much as this guy. Man, this guy was just, I shaved with him, just my first razor experience with an injector, and I thought, this is nice. It's got a firm blade, but it's moving easily through my hair. I could see why people have not left this kind of razor behind. And Michael speaks highly of the supply injector as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. And these can be had, these here, now the supply is it's modern, so it's kind of more expensive, but these guys right here, sometimes you can get 5 of these things for $10 on eBay. And I mean, so they represent a wonderful value if you find one that shaves well for you. So, tremendous. Now, the razors that I wanted to bring to you guys, but I couldn't. We'll start with the 2 modern ones. The Fine Marvel. He's a little retarded looking dude, right? Look at that head. Looks like he's a pontoon boat or something like that, some kind of Star Wars droid. Okay, but and he's got a very, it looks like he's got a lot of exposure, but he doesn't. I guess this safety bar is sticking out quite a bit, and so he actually ends up to be a nice shaver for me. I haven't shaved with him a lot, but, and then this is the black Fatip, and you know I'm a big Fatip fan, and so this is the grande handle and the open comb with a black finish. Pretty neat. And then now the rest of them are vintage. This one's special because this was my great uncle's or something, a few generations, like 3 or 4 generations above me, and this was his G-bar. This is a gem G-bar single edge razor. Another single edge I had. This is my first Micromatic from Gem, and it was my first time. I was very cautious with it, and it didn't actually do too bad for me. It was later when I got a little cocky that I started to suffer. And then I was able to find my Big Fellow. This is a new improved Big Fellow. It's got that long handle, And here is another new improved. This is the tuck away. So you know what I had lost? I had the standard on hand at the time, and I've shaved with you with a standard here recently. But what I had away was the small and the large. I had the medium. I showed you the medium, but what was missing was the two extremes. And this tuck away is just gorgeous, isn't it? Now this was definitely a user grade, but he works. Still a little bit too aggressive for me, but maybe I'll play around with some blades and find something a little nicer. So I was excited to find those. They're part of the new improved family of razors. And then the what came right before those new improved were the new. No. The new improved actually came first. I did that in reverse. I went and looked it up online. The new improved came first, and then the new, which is kind of strange. You would think you'd have to have the new first. Mr. Razor, MR Razor, mr-razor.com set me straight, and I'm glad about that. In terms of the new, I was able to find these guys right here. The kind of the common bar handle, but you've got the short comb versus the long comb. This is the long comb over here. And so I don't think I actually had a long comb at the time when I did that video. And notice the little cutouts in the middle, those dark places in the middle that the rail from the top cap goes down into. Well, that's how you can tell it's a new and tell it apart, easily apart from a new improved. See, there's no cutout in the middle there. And then, the guy that shaves me nicer than the news is this guy here. He's a new deluxe. You can tell he's a new because he has that little cutout right there, but he's got a flat base plate right here. Now, I believe this is the 15 millimeter when you measure between the combs from left to right there. The other one I have is the 17, and the other one's smoother. And then one of you guys, maybe Walden, I can't remember who, asked me if I had a travel tech. And it turns out I do. I misinterpreted his question. I thought he meant a short handle version of another razor. And yeah, and I actually forgot that I had this little guy, little travel tech. I have shaved with him once, and he did all right. Of course, he's got that great tech head. If you got to have that space, then you can use that guy. If you need that space for other purposes. I had a junky aristocrat that I showed you guys, and that one's going to go in my sell pile after I clean it up. Well, this is the one that I initially bought and started out with. Nice and shiny, and he is like a super speed, really, in terms of comfort, like the flare tip super speeds. Now this is the Rocket, but the other super speeds that look like this guy, he kind of shaves like them. And so I don't really think he's a great buy to spend your extra money unless you just have the extra money and you want one that has a different feel, but gives kind of the same shave. It's not super smooth, little on the scrapey side, but gets the job done very well. And it's an attractive razor. I just don't quite like the feel of it as some of the others. Now, in the super speed category, I have this wonderful black handle. I think I was able to show you guys a kind of a dirtier black handle, but this is the one that I have been using before. And then the last one I show you guys today, this is the black tip super speed. Everything above the black area here looks kind of like the 4D style super speed, but this was after the war and they were trying to conserve metal, and so they were trying to make aluminum things when they could and plastic things. And so yeah, most of these black tip super speeds are made with a black plastic turn adjustment knob there, opening and closing knob. And so that completes the super speed collection there. We've got the black tip, black handle with a flare tip. We have the red tip, blue tip, the standard. I think that's all for the super speeds. So my collection is finally back together again. And so what I'm going to do is gather the other super speeds together. I'll gather the other new improve together. I'll gather this aristocrat. This is the United States aristocrat. And he's kind of pricey, maybe $40, $50 sometimes if he looks nice. If he doesn't look very good, you might be able to get him for less. But compare him, the American version, with the English predecessors, as well as the 1934 and 36 American open comb aristocrats that are very different than this guy. And so we'll get all those other ones. We'll match these two groupings together and present a nice couple of videos showing those categories of razors. Now, the last thing I thought it might be fun to do is show you about this Schick Injector, right? And so if you're done looking at the new gear that we did before, if you're done letting me show you the used pieces, then you can tune out now if you want. Right now, all that's left that I can tell is displaying what I learned about the Schick Repeater injector razor. So obviously he's meant, I suppose, to be a travel piece. How easily this guy would fit into anybody's travel stuff, right next to your toothbrush and various other things. And so he does have a blade, so I'm going to be careful. You can see the pivot point right here. And so you can start it pivoting, and then I'm always keeping the blades on this end of things, and so I'm keeping my fingers on this end of things, and that way I can try to be safe, take it nice and slow. Now mine is very bound up tight, so there's no way this thing's going to pivot when I'm actually using it. The exposure on this one looks like a lot, and so I bet it's going to be tricky. And it's the blade is pretty much 90 degrees to the handle here. And so I'll bet I'm going to be shaving with a highly open handle angle, something like that, maybe 88 degrees or something to that effect. Okay, and we do have a blade in there. Now, I don't know how they usually go, but mine right now is not having a very tight grip on the blade, not like the other injectors that I've shown you. And so it's actually pretty easy for me to pull that guy out. I don't really see an adjustment other than maybe pushing down on this top lip here, but I don't want to damage it. I'll definitely do some research before I try anything like that. And so this is one of the blades that came with it. I'm definitely not going to shave with it, only because I see some rust on the edges. It actually came with about 6 blades or so, and I inspected them all, because if I found one that didn't have any rust on the edge, I was going to try it. Who knows? I mean, come on, it's metal. And if there's no rust on it, it should be fine. Maybe I'll take some alcohol and wipe on it, but no, I'm afraid not. There was rust on all the edges. Okay, but I do have a couple of blades loaded, and so I thought I'd show you. We can safely, now that there's not a blade in there, I can hold it however I want, bend it back into position. Now, underneath this area, we've got a stack of blades, right in here, and there's a spring underneath here that's pushing them up to the top, close to this wall of the razor here. And so when I grab this guy and pull him out, there's a spring underneath that pushes the razor up to the very surface here. And then, did I not load it? Because maybe I was gonna, oh, yep, it's empty. Oh, yeah, okay. I must have emptied it out for demonstration purposes. Okay, when you open it up and you see this little guy, and when you see the carriage come out with it, then you know it's empty. Also, of course, you're going to know it's empty when you push it in and it doesn't inject a new blade. So let's look at how to refill it. So what's holding everything inside is this little clip right there. So I'm going to press it, and then over here I'm going to pull down, just grab something in there and kind of push it down with my fingernail so that everything can just kind of slowly come on out. Be gentle with it. You can also kind of close it a little bit to let everything pull out. And you can see the brass colored thing is the blade tray. And there we go. We've got 2 pieces that have come out. The blade carrier or the blade tray. I don't know the exact terminology, and so I'm just kind of making up these terms as I go. And then here, of course, is the spring, and then this is the butt end that will actually shows when everything's assembled. Okay, and so then we have this is fully extended. You can see how it's hollow right there. Okay, and so there are going to be some different ways to do this, but the way that I saw online, it had you fill the blade tray up with blades and then put it in one video, and then you flipped it over, but that made all the blades kind of fall down, and that's not me, right? And so because you can't actually assemble the whole thing, the thick part of the plate right there, that goes toward the rear, and then this lip right here in the front, you can see how thin it is, and the one back here, that's thicker. All right, so think about the thinness of the blade. You need to put the blade facing the thinness of the carrier here. Okay, so I'm going to find the blade edge and lay it down so that the blade edge is facing you guys. Okay, then I'll reach and get another blade. You can see the kind of the rust and stuff. Lay it on top, and you can just keep stacking. I don't know the capacity, but I think it would hold at least half a dozen. So we've got 3 blades stacked in there, and this I guess it's brass. It is kind of fragile, like that thin rail that I showed you right there, that can be easily bent, so be careful. Now, to know how it goes in is pretty easy, because you can just look at the razor and see that right there is where the blade has to slide and be ready. Okay, and so you just make this face right here be the top, and then you can see where to put the tray in, like that. And you can see underneath is a little cavity, and that's where we're going to put that spring. It's really an ingenious mechanism. It's very simple, not a whole lot of moving parts. The spring here does a couple different jobs. It presses the blades up so that it engages the next one when it's needed. It also acts as a stop to whenever you're empty, that little end of the spring engages into the slide mechanism to make this whole thing come out with the whole rack. Now we just slowly push this in, and it'll just snap right in. She's all loaded up. Really kind of simple, huh? It was just so easy for me once I kept everything oriented according to kind of the top part, because that's where the blade, that's the business end right there. This right here would be the front that would face you, and I can turn it. See? So there we go. So then I would be shaving something like this. All right, so now let us inject. Let us insert the blade in. So we fold it down so that it's ready to receive. We pull this back, and notice it's empty here. When I pulled it back before, when the blades are gone, that little end of the spring engaged in that hole right there. And so that's what caused it to bring that the carrier for the blade tray, and that whole mechanism came back with it, right? And so now we know there are blades in it because it didn't come back with it. But what this did was it opened up a small area for the spring to push up a blade right in here. And so you can watch the magic happen as I'm going to hold this just firmly, and there comes the blade right there. And you just bend it, being careful, of course, I like to have my handle on the opposite side of the blade edge. And now you can see the blade. Now I could pull it out right now. I can align it, push it back against the back of the unit there, and so he's ready to go. Now that's a little bit of magic to have it engage that blade, but here is the awesome magic, bonus magic number 2. Pull that out again, and we have now engaged the next blade up inside here, and the end of this metal piece right here is now going to slide it in, replacing the old blade. And then he finishes the job. And we're back where we started, where we can now twist this up and shave. So that is a Schick Repeater, Schick Repeating Injector Razor. And then I'll go ahead and inject them all, outject if we want to call it that. I loaded 3 or 4 of them. Ah, yeah. Okay, so now when I pull it back, we've still got that last blade in. Now look at it. This guy's not empty anymore because now we don't have any more blades in the tray. And so we would just repeat the loading operation to load it back up. And so since those tray cartridges aren't available as refills anymore, you have to do the manual loading like I just did. And there are some blades out there that come in bulk with injector blades. I think Ted Pella come in bulk. But even if you have the injector type like this, you would not use this key with this razor. It wasn't built to do that. But you could use this slide to manually push a blade out, take the blade in your hand and place it in the blade tray. You know, if this is what this time of thing is what you have. So there we go, Schick Repeating Razor. I mean, for a nerdy shave guy, this is pretty cool, right? It's like a shaving transformer. Pretty nice. So there we go. I'm looking forward to the Pereira bowl, trying that guy out. He fits in my hand really well, but that's also because he's a little smaller than my other one. And so I think it's possible that with my larger loft brushes, this may seem like kind of a small bowl. But if I'm interested to see about my medium and my smaller brushes, they might really enjoy this guy. I do feel like the depth in relation to the height is going to cause me to have a bunch of messy fingers. So that'll be interesting to see as well. But I like the dots down here to keep that brush from sliding in. And we'll definitely give the tray a fair shake, the blade holder tray. And see, look, that's one of the examples. See, the lump right here is where it's going to touch on the tray below. And so therefore, this has to be the center of balance. And so the center of balance of the brush needs to be here or this far back for it to balance properly. But no, it doesn't. And so that I have found plenty of brushes that this kind of arrangement, the Fine Accoutrements Lather Bowl has this as well, that it just doesn't address those brushes. Now my 3D Roger Quintero bowl, I haven't found a brush that this doesn't work in. Look at that. I don't know where he came up with that idea, but it just works so perfectly with every brush that's out there. But I don't really care too much that the brush rest may not be that awesome because of those dots. Those dots are going to keep the brush from sinking down, and that's all really I want anyway. So I don't really mind that this guy doesn't work all the time. He's going to work for some brushes, that's for sure. So I think I might end up getting my fingers a little wet, and sudsy. But we're going to give it a fair shake and have a good time doing it. It is a bowl that a lot of people love, people who buy them, because I've read a lot of fans talk about their Pereira bowl. Looking forward to trying that guy out, and I have been for maybe 2 years now. And then once I finally decide to look into the Pereira bowl seriously, that's when they disappear from eBay. I was just fortunate and blessed that Keith had one to sell, and that it wasn't white. For a long time, there was one on eBay, but it was white. And I can't be showing you guys lather and telling you much about it if you can't distinguish the white lather from the white bowl. Can't do that. All right, well, that's it. That's it. I hope that there's been something in this video to help you guys in terms of enjoyment of the shaving hobby, and maybe there's something you're looking forward to. If you're not a regular subscriber, then maybe in a few months, jump on my channel and do a search for any of these products, and and hopefully you'll be able to find one that you might have been interested in looking for. Or you can just comment on any of my videos and say, hey, did you ever use that injector repeater? If so, could you tell me which video? And I'll usually be able to help you out and find that for you. All right, well, hey, this is Sugar Daddy Shaves. All the best to you guys. Take care now. Good night.